Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. 3 topics for this video. First topic has to do with Donald Trump and Zelenskyy. What Donald Trump is about to do will prove if he is a mollusk or he's not a mollusk. What does that mean? If he has backbone or he doesn't have a backbone. Second topic has to do again with Donald Trump, who reiterates his demand that Canada will become the 51st state of the United States of America. And the third one has to do with Russia. Some in Russia call for a Oreshnik strike on Ukraine. Oreshnik is the newest hypersonic interballistic missile that cannot be stopped by anybody so far, according to the Russians. So let's start with the first one, which will determine if Donald Trump is a mollusk or he's not a mollusk. Here, Ukrainska Pravda. This is from Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Trump says Zelenskyy will be invited back to White House. U.S. President Donald Trump says that Ukraine's president, that's great, Ukraine's president Zelenskyy could return to the White House following the talks in Saudi Arabia. Trump speaking to journalists outside of the White House on March 11th, as reported by European Pravda. And I'm quoting, "We are going to meet with them, the Russians, later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think that ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, they'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to be killed." So you see, he already like a weasel dropped it on Russia. I discussed it in a video earlier today in which the Americans like weasels and the Ukrainians said, well, they agreed to the ceasefire, the Ukrainians, so they want peace. Now, Russia, will you agree to a 30-day ceasefire? And if Russia says no, see, they don't want peace. They're the ones. But how would the 30-day ceasefire benefit Russia? Not at all. So this is a weasel move. This is a bazaar. It's a Middle Eastern bazaar move. You know what I mean? You know my hint? Okay. So when asked whether this means that Zelenskyy will be invited back to the White House, Trump replied, "Sure, absolutely." Okay. I hope you saw what happened between Trump and Zelenskyy at the White House. And for good reason, the thug was thrown out of the White House. The problem is this. If Zelenskyy is invited to the White House, and if Zelenskyy shows up at the White House, these two moves will, victory, will prove that Trump has or doesn't have backbone. First one, if Zelenskyy shows up again dressed like a thug, disrespects the office of the US president, that means Trump has no backbone. That means Zelenskyy won. If Zelenskyy will even dare to behave like a druggie, like he did last time, Trump doesn't have a backbone. Okay? He has a backbone if Zelenskyy shows up in a suit, and I think he will. I give it big percentage he will. And the second one will be Zelenskyy will behave and Trump will humiliate him in front of everybody. Only by having him wear a suit. Remember, for me, that's a determinant if he's going to be a mollusk or not. Now, do not agree with this statement coming from these guys. Man, politics is about making a deal, negotiation. Well, you don't negotiate certain things in your lives. You still have to have a backbone. Therefore, you don't negotiate your children sold in slavery or your mom sold into a brothel if anybody takes her anymore or something. There's certain non-negotiable. So when people say, hey, it's a bazaar, everything goes, that's politics. No. Politics has a backbone. We used to have pride. We have to have values. We have to have principles in the past. And the same here. Not everything goes. Do not get fooled with this. This culture that is pushed on us from alien places on this planet. I'm talking about the Western civilization being infected with this kind of attitudes is this. Well, just make a buck, man. Just be sneaky, be smart, be smart. Being a shirker, a guy who avoids responsibility and taking a word without deserving it, it's called nowadays a smart guy. You're a smart guy. No, you're a weasel. See, we don't have to fall to that kind of bizarre mentality. So that's with Trump. Let's go to the second topic. This comes from the Russians. Russia Today. Trump offers new 51st state deal to Canada. The US president has announced he will double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, reiterating his desire to annex the country. So he beat the Canadians with a 25%. The Canadians, the governor of whatever he's of Ontario, said, we're going to give 25% tariff to Michigan, Wisconsin, and New York, and we're going to fuck you up. And Trump said, yeah, okay, we're going to put 50% on your aluminum and steel. What are you going to do? And then the guys, sorry, Wednesday, which is tomorrow, our tariffs will just drop. Please, my friends. But hey, he was stuffed for about 3 days. So that's what happened. There you have. Trump announced the move in a post, pop, right here. So US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he would impose an even higher levy on Canadian imports, doubling steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%. He also reiterated that he wants to annex the world's second largest country, stating that the only way to solve the tariff standoff would be for Canada to become the cherished 51st state of the US. You got it? I instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariffs to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffs nations anywhere in the world. Oh, what can you do about it? And here, Trump announced 25% on Canada early on February, but delayed them for a month until last Tuesday. Exemptions were granted to Canadian automakers. Right? Ottawa responded by imposing tariffs on $30 billion worth of American products, with an additional $125 billion in duties set for next month. Trump also repeated his claim that the US has been subsidizing Canada by more than $200 billion. So that's a fight on, we're going to blackmail you, we're going to beat you up. So, but things that you didn't know maybe. The president also demanded Canada drop what he had described as anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various US dairy products. So the Canadians are not nice? Well, we're gonna queue up. How about that? Just kidding. Anyway, so the only way you guys solve it if you become the 51st state. Now let's go to the last topic of this video, which is the Oreshnik. Russia Today, 11th of March 2025. Russia should launch Oreshnik strike in retaliation for Ukrainian drone attack. Senior MP. Moscow should deploy state-of-the-art missiles against targets in Ukraine. Senior lawmaker Andrei Kartapolov has said Moscow should employ its new Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile system in response to a major Ukrainian drone attack targeting residential areas and civilian infrastructure inside Russia. A total of 337 Ukrainian drones were launched and 74, I tell you, were dropped on Moscow. When asked by the journalist on Tuesday if Russia should use Ukrainian targets with Oreshnik in retaliation, so it should strike Ukrainian targets with Oreshnik in retaliation, the head of the Russian State Duma Defense Committee chairman replied, and I'm quoting, "The decision is up to the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, President Putin, but I think it would be appropriate to launch the Oreshnik, and it would be even better if it is more than one missile." Oh my God. All right. So, what do you think? Well, unfortunately, I disagree with that statement. I think they should be dropped maybe on Yermak, on Zelenskyy stein, on Zmihal stein, and maybe on, what's his name? I can't forget, what's his name? The defense minister, the Tatar guy, Umerov. So yeah, or maybe on the Russian Syrskyi, the general. Where are the Ukrainians? Who the fuck knows? The foreign minister is Ukrainian, and Budanov. That's it. So yeah, I think those guys who have no problem endangering the Ukrainian nation's existence because they don't care, they take their luggage and go to London the next day or the day before the Russians launched the Oreshnik on them. So those guys maybe should be smacked around a little bit. So first, we'll see if Trump is a mollusk. The second one, Trump's is again 51 state come over Red Rover. And the third one, will they launch Oreshnik? I don't think they will run. I mean, I would give them 50-50, let's put it this way. It would be a mistake to do that to the Ukrainian people. But on the other hand, if you do it to the weasels, the aliens that I just mentioned, they would make them martyrs and, oh my God, see, these guys are really criminals. They taken out the good hero of the world, Z-stein. We didn't know how to fight. They taught us, the fucking goat herders, illiterate. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.